Hello, I'm Cathy Olds again, and I'm here to talk about the development of spiritual direction. This is the second video. The first one we talked about the origins of spiritual direction in the early church, especially among the desert fathers and mothers, and then how that leads to the development of monasticism. We talked about how much of that spirituality was lay spirituality at the beginning. We'll continue with some of that theme as we look at the growing development of spirituality and especially spiritual direction. What happens and where we're going today is how spiritual direction is developed, particularly in Celtic cultures, and how Celtic Christianity took that practice of spiritual direction from the desert mothers and fathers and developed it for a wider audience. So much of what we understand today about spiritual direction and what it is and how we do it comes from that Celtic experience of Christianity in the 5th and 6th century, which is understood as the golden age of Celtic spirituality. So to say something about the context for this development, Celtic Christianity, as all Christianity, is lived within a culture. Of course, Christianity develops in a Roman and a Jewish culture to begin with. And then of course, the Romans come into England well before the time of Jesus. You've got Roman influence there, but they never get to Ireland, which has one of the reasons for the differences for the development of Celtic Christianity. So we basically say that Celtic Christianity is developed in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, the Isle of Man. And it develops a bit differently. First of all, pagan Irish culture is thoroughly religious. There's a value of nature. Both men and women have significant roles. You have both male and female gods, much as in the Roman pagan culture. But there's this emphasis on natural elements like the sun, like trees, like springs and wells. There's also a very tribalness to Celtic culture. So Celtic peoples live in tribes and clans rather than in villages. And there's a value for poetry and song and storytelling and celebrating heroes. You look at what we have from the time before Christianity is introduced into Ireland, and many of the stories are about the kings and the great heroes, the great warriors of the clans of Ireland. So that's some of the context. So what happens, of course, is Patrick is among the first. He is not the only one. He's not the first, but he is probably one of the most successful of the Christian evangelizers. So, of course, many of you know his story. He's abducted by Irish raiders from the west coast of England and is brought to Ireland as a slave, escapes, and then returns to Ireland to convert the people of Ireland to Christianity. So he becomes one of those first Celtic heroes. There are many. Some of them we recognize in our Roman list of saints, but if you go to Ireland, they celebrate many different Irish saints there. So Patrick